About 4/5 of Japan is either hilly or mountainous. In central Honshu, especially in what are sometimes called the Japanese Alps, a lot of peaks crest between 8,000 and 10,000 feet. Fujiyama, at about 13,000 feet, is a volcanic cone southwest of Tokyo. It is the country's highest mountain. Plains and relatively flat areas account for about 1/5 of Japan's total area and occur mainly across the coast. Japan lies in a volcanic earthquake-prone belt called the Ring of Fire, which fringes most of the Pacific Basin. About 50 of Japan's 192 volcanoes are classified as active, although few erupt. Earthquakes are frequent, mostly, however, are only minor tremors that do little or no damage. This area also contains rivers. The longest is the Shinano, which is 230 miles in length. They sometimes suffer from flooding, and floods, especially those caused by torrential typhoon rains, sometimes cause widespread damage and many deaths.
Japan has a heavy rainfall, and because of this, the area has very many trees. Trees surround Japan just like water. The area has many mountains and valleys as well. Forest covers nearly 70% of Japan. In general, coniferous forests dominate in the higher mountainous area and in the far north. In northern Japan and throughout the central part of the country are deciduous trees such as oak, maple, beech, ash, and elm. There are also thickets of bamboo and many kinds of deciduous and coniferous trees. Some tropical plants, including palm trees and bananas, are found throughout far south of Kyushu. Japan has many flowering trees. Especially famous are the flowering cherry trees. The blossom is the national symbol.
The weather in Japan is generally temperate, with 4 seasons. Winter from December to February is quite dry and sunny along the Pacific coast, and the temperatures rarely drop below 32 degrees. The temperatures drop as you move north, with the central and northern regions experiencing snowfall. Japan is also surrounded by seas and has warm and cold currents around it. Japan has monsoons also. These come from the southwest area and bring rain. This area also suffers from typhoons, which are like hurricanes except in the Pacific Ocean. Japan's constitution, which came into force in 1947, is based on 3 principles: sovereignty of the people, respect for fundamental human rights, and reunification of war. The Constitution also stipulates the independence of the 3 branches of government: legislative, which they call the Diet; executive, which they call the Cabinet; and judicial, which they call the courts. The Diet, which is Japan's national parliament, is the highest organ of state power and the sole lawmaking organ of the state. All Japan's citizens can vote in elections once they reach the age of 20. Japan's do not elect a president directly. Diet members elect a prime minister from among themselves. The prime minister forms and leads the cabinet of ministers of state. The cabinet and the exercise of executive power is responsible to the Diet. Judicial power lies with the Supreme Court and the lower courts. Most cases are handled by district courts, though. They also have a summary courts, which deal with problems like traffic violations. A law judge system was introduced in May 2009. Under this system, 6 adult citizens over the age of 20 are chosen at a random to act as lay judges in criminal cases tried in district courts. There are 47 prefectural and numerous municipal governments in Japan. Their responsibilities include providing education, welfare, and other services in buildings and maintaining infrastructure, including utilities. The administrative activities bring them into close contact with local people. The heads of regional government and local assembly members are chosen by local people through elections. The Emperor of Japan is Akihito, and the Prime Minister is Shinzo Abe.
Breaking news. Japan is planning to put an unmanned rover on the surface of the moon by 2018. The rover's official name will be JAXA, meaning Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. The initial steps have lots of procedures before the plan is approved, and it will cost about $83.4 million at least, and could cost at most $125 million. The mission is expected to be used to perfect the soft landing of technology, which could be utilized in the future in manned expeditions to the moon or even Mars. The lander will use face recognition software found in digital cameras, which will be repurposed to enable the craft recognition craters on the surface.
In 1894, Japan went to war with China. Japan's better-equipped forces won the victory in just 9 months. In 1936, Japan signed an anti-communist agreement with Nazi Germany. The outbreak of World War II in Europe started in 1939. With the fall of France to Nazi Germany in 1940, Japan moved to occupy French Indochina. In 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. Pacific fleets at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. The U.S. and its main allies declared war on Japan the following day. In June of 1942, U.S. aircraft carriers defeated the Japan at the Battle of Midway. In 1945, U.S. planes dropped 2 atomic bombs, one on Hiroshima, the second on Nagasaki. In 1951, Japan signed a peace treaty with the U.S., and in 1952, Japan regained independence from the U.S. Then in 1964, the Olympic Games were held in Tokyo. And then in 2011, an earthquake and tsunami hit Japan, and nuclear waste went into the oceans and thousands of lives were killed.
Japanese dinner course could consist of something like these appetizers: deep-fried wonton, pan-fried gonzo, miso soup. Dinner: tempura, grilled fish, hamburger steak, and so on, and 2 other smaller vegetable dishes like salads and boiled veggies. Desserts vary, but wangshi is a common dessert item. Japan's national sport is sumo wrestling. They are also in other martial arts like judo, karate, and modern kendo. The major religion in Japan are Buddhism and Shinto. Shinto is the native religion of Japan. Shinto believes that gods are called kami. Humans become kami after they die and are revered by their family as ancestors kami. Nobody is perfect in this religion. Buddhism believes that there are 4 noble truths and 8 paths, 1 God. They believe that reincarnation after death. When looking at the population pyramid, we see that Japan is more developed. We can tell this by the way it looks pretty much even all the way down. The HDI of this region is 0.89, and this is very good for a region to have. Japan is 17th ranked in the world. The GDP per capita of this region is $35,900. This means that they aren't the richest, but yet not the poorest. The literacy rate is 99%, which is the same as the U.S. The infant mortality rate is 2.78 per 1,000 deaths. The number isn't high compared to other countries. Overall, Japan is more developed.